So welcome to Register on Track for the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. We're really excited to have you here tonight and talk all about course selection and registration and what to expect in September. And so before we get too much into it, whether there'll be people joining here from all around the world. And so whether you're joining no matter where you're joining from, myself and the other people on the presenters on the webinar are joining from Mi'kma'ki, also known as Nova Scotia. And soon in the fall, you'll be here with us as well. And so we're going to start a land acknowledgement for Mi'kma'ki. Dalhousie University operates in the unceded territories of the Mi'kmaq, Wolastoqey, and Pescotawatomi peoples. These sovereign nations hold inherent rights as the original peoples of these lands, and we each carry collective obligations under the peace and friendship treaties. Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982 recognizes and affirms Aboriginal and treaty rights in Canada. We recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. And as you're preparing to join us here in September or in the winter, I'd encourage you to take some time and learn about the place that you're coming to as well. And so my name is Catherine, and my pronouns are she and her, and I'm a student success advisor at the Bissett Student Success Center. And part of my role is that I do academic advising with students in the Bachelor of Arts program. So I might have already met with some of you too. And I'm also a graduate of DAL as well. So I did my Bachelor of Science here at DAL, and I majored in biochemistry while I was here. And I just have some pictures on the screen just so you can get to know a little more about me. So in that top left, we have my headshots. This is what I look like on a good day. And then next to that in the top right, we have Lola. She's one of my two cats out in the sun. She's very confident and loves to kind of be the center of attention. Underneath her is her sister Bambi. And so Bambi is definitely a little shyer. She's hiding under a chair in this picture, probably trying to get away from Lola. And they also will hang out here sometimes, so you might get to see them as we're talking today. And then in the bottom left, we just have a picture of me gardening. So here in Nova Scotia, the weather has been absolutely beautiful today. And what I like to do in the summer is garden. I really enjoy it. And every year I try and grow some fruits and veggies that I can then enjoy for the rest of the year. So that's what I try and do for most of the summer. And if you meet with me either during the summer or in the fall, ask me how it's going. I'm always so excited to talk about my plants and my garden and what I'm doing. And so I mentioned a little about the Bissett Student Success Center. And so that's where I work on campus. We're in the 4th floor of the Student Union building, and we're one of your main resources. So through there, we offer academic advising, career services, studying for this success, and then peer advising. So peer-to-peer advising on things like course selection for incoming students. And we'll talk more about some of these resources at the end. And before we get to our agenda, we will be having a Q&A at the end. So you're going to be listening to me talk for about an hour when we go through the whole kind of course selection and registration process. And after that, we'll have an opportunity to answer some of those questions. So if you do have questions that come up, you can use the Q&A function to ask them. You would just at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you would click the Q&A button, and a question and answer box will pop up, and you'll be able to type your question in there and send that. If you don't want your name to be associated with your question, that's completely okay. And you can click send anonymously. And so if you click send anonymously, your name isn't going to be associated with your question. Your question is then sent to myself, and I have a few other folks on the call who are here to help answer them as well. And so we'll get to those at the end. We also, when you logged on, you might have heard an announcement that this session is being recorded. So you will get a copy of the recording as well as a copy of the slides at the end of this session, likely in the next day or two as well. So don't feel like if you've missed something, it's kind of gone. You can always refer back to the recording in the slides too. And this is our agenda. And so today we're going to be doing a bit of a welcome to DAL, and then we're going to dive right into course selection and things to do to get set up, how to create a schedule, how to register for courses, and then going over some supports for success while you're here at DAL. And so the first thing is welcome to DAL. We are so excited to have you. And I just have a bit of a welcome from the Bissett Student Success Center to you.
Welcome to DAL!
So I hope you felt with all of that energy and the excitement really welcomed. And that is the type of energy that's going to be on campus in September or in the winter when you join. And so everyone is so excited to have you start. They're so excited for September, the energy, the vibe. It's so fun to be around. And so we're really all excited to have you here. And when you're thinking about DAL and you're interacting with folks on campus, and maybe you're meeting with myself or another advisor or peer advisor, some of the things that we want to know and things to think about is like, what are you excited about when you come to DAL? What made you choose DAL? What made you choose the East Coast as your kind of school? And then are there any challenges you're anticipating? Are there any things that you might need to work through, supports you might want to connect with before fall starts to get really set up for September? And then there are so many different ways to tailor your degree and so many different ways to tailor your experience outside of the classroom as well while you're here at DAL. And so how do you plan to make the most out of your experience? What do you want to do? What do you want to learn? What do you want to get involved with? And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our peer advisor, Caitlin, who's going to talk a little about how she's got involved in her time here at DAL.
Thank you, Catherine. Hi, I'm Caitlin. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a fourth-year arts and social science student here at DAL. On campus, you can find me being a resource for students in residence, mentoring first-year students, tutoring for the Spanish department, being a society president, and a peer advisor here at the Bissett Student Success Center. In this role, I assist incoming students with course selection, as well as informing them on the countless resources here at DAL. I would say as a DAL student, my favorite course so far has been Laws 2520. And if I could give any tip to incoming students, it would be to definitely stay organized. The transition from high school to university is very significant, and being organized is the key to a smooth and successful academic year.
Wonderful, thank you. And it sounds, based on everything that Caitlin is doing and involved in, it's more likely you will see her either over the summer as a peer advisor or in residence or potentially supporting you with one of your Spanish courses. And hopefully that shows you too that there are so many different ways for you to get involved and really explore your interests and what you enjoy and different avenues for you to explore both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So thanks, Caitlin, for sharing a little more there too. And now we have a bit of a welcome from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences Dean, Dr. Andrews. And so this gives you a really good idea of what it's like to join arts and social sciences. And so just going to reshare my screen.
And welcome to Dalhousie. My name is Dr. Jennifer Andrews, and I am the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, or FAS, as we are commonly known around Dalhousie University. Dalhousie is located on Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. We are all treaty people. The Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences is privileged to offer courses in Indigenous studies. FAS offers hundreds of courses across more than 35 academic programs. As one of the university's founding faculties, FAS is home to many of Canada's leading scholars. Learning from Indigenous scholars, students benefit from the perspectives and insights of instructors who have both lived and studied the topics under discussion. At Dalhousie, we also recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. It is a great honor for FAS to offer a program in Black and African diaspora studies, which allows students the opportunity to discover the often ignored African Canadian society and culture from both a historical and contemporary perspective. Studying in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences at Dalhousie will allow you the opportunity to explore your options and customize the degree of your dreams. Studying here lets you experience not just Halifax, but the world, whether in language courses that expose you to many global cultures or in one of over 90 study abroad and international exchange programs offered by the university. Many of our programs offer experiential learning opportunities, which will allow you to build on what you are discovering in the classroom. We call these opportunities experiential learning, or EL. because they are all about lived experience, from community projects and in-class simulations to live performances and global exchanges. In addition to the friends you'll meet in classes and in residence if you're living on campus, I highly encourage you to join at least one campus society. Please especially consider joining one of the FAST departmental societies, where you will meet other students with interests similar to your own, where amazing friendships can be formed. You can find details about all of our programs, including our majors and honors programs, our interdisciplinary minor options, and certificate programs on our website. I look forward to meeting you in the fall term and introducing you to other members of the Dean's Office team. In the meantime, if you have any questions about getting started with course registration, please reach out to the wonderful academic advisors on Dalhousie Student Affairs team, and they will be more than happy to guide you. See you in September.
Okay, wonderful. And so hopefully you got from that a little bit of taste of what it's like to join the Faculty of Arts and Social Science, and also that there are so many different programs and ways to tailor your degree that works for you. And so you really have an opportunity with the faculty you're joining to really explore what your interests are and what's going to be the best fit for you as a FAST student. And so we might have some folks here from also Fountain School of Performing Arts. And so I just want to highlight that the Fountain School of Performing Arts does have their own advising for anyone entering those programs. So I've put the advisor contact information there. And again, you'll get a copy of these slides so you can connect with them later. And then we're going to really now jump right into course registration. So the reason why we're all here and getting ready to register on June 7th. And so first off, all of the information, all of the steps that we'll be going through today, you can find at dal.ca/registration. So if you don't remember anything else about this, dal.ca/registration is the thing to remember. So bookmark it, save it, open it up, take a peek. All of the steps, all of the information will be found here. So it's a really great website to kind of walk you through what to expect. And so we're going to start at step 1 before you begin. So before we jump into course selection and registration, there are just a few things that you'll need to do to be set up to be able to register. So the first is you need to pay a $200 admission deposit. I have the link there on where to pay it. So if you haven't already, that would be the first thing. You then need to activate your Net ID and password. And so that gives you access to be able to register and set up your Dalhousie email. And then you're going to want to check your registration status on Dal Online just to make sure everything is good to go on June 7th. And there's still plenty of time to change anything if it's not. And then finally, you might want to bookmark the important dates page, dal.ca/dates, just so you can get a bit of an insight into what next semester and your time here at Dal is going to look like. And so your Net ID, that's going to be really important for this process because your Net ID is what you use to log into Dal Online. It's what you use to access your email account, access different online platforms at Dal, and book different spaces on campus. So your Net ID, it's 2 letters followed by 6 numbers. And you can find your Net ID by going to password.dal.ca and then clicking Activate your Net ID. And so your Net ID is different to your student ID or your B0 number, your banner number that you might have heard before. Your banner number, that's what you would find at the top of your acceptance letter. It starts with a B0, and that's what you use. So if you did come in and book an appointment at the BISIT, for example, with say myself or Caitlin, we would ask you for your banner number, your B0 number when you're booking that appointment. So it's what we use on our end to kind of look you up, whereas your Net ID is what you're going to use to actually be able to register and access those online platforms. So it's really important that you set that up before registration day. It's also going to be your email, and I'd encourage you as we're going into summer to start checking your email. I would say at least kind of once a week if you can, because a lot of important information will be sent there over the summer. And so the next thing that you're going to do is check your registration status. So we want to make sure that you're able to register and everything looks good in the system. So you would go to Dal Online, just at dalonline.dal.ca. You're going to log in using your Net ID and password, and that's where it's really important to have activated that. You would then click Web for Students, and then Registration, and then you'd click Prepare for Registration. The system kind of wants you to double check, so you'd click Prepare for Registration again, you'd select the term 2025-2026 fall, and then you'd press Continue. Now, it's really important when you're doing this to only check your registration status for the semester that you're joining. So if you're joining in the fall, you want to check your fall semester. If you are joining in the fall and you check your winter, it's going to look really, really funky. So as long as the semester that you're joining looks good, you are good to go. So if you're starting in the fall, it'd be 2026 fall that you're going to press, and then you're going to click Continue. And you should see a page that looks like this. And so you should get 3 green ticks and then 1 exclamation mark in red that just lets you know that you're not able to register until June 7th. Providing you see those 3 green ticks for the semester that you're starting, you are good to go. And so you're going to be able to register on June 7th. And this is something, your net ID, and this is something you want to do now so that on June 7th, you are ready to go and you're all set up. And so once you've done that, then we can look at finding courses and the course selection process. Before we get too into this, if we do have any transfer students in the room, a lot of this information will be geared towards first-year students. So just some notes on transfer students and transfer credits before we get too into it. Number 1, whether you're coming from another post-secondary institution or you're coming from like a high school curriculum like AP, A-levels, IB, something like that, and you're expecting transfer credits, the transfer credits are not automatic. So you do need to apply for transfer credits. You can apply now for your transfer credits. I'd encourage you to do that. Even if you don't have your grades yet, you can apply now. And so then hopefully in September, you're set up and good to go with your transfer credits. Now, if you're coming from another post-secondary institution, registration is open for transfer students now. So you are able to register now. You don't have to wait for your transfer credits to get approved before registering, but obviously some of the courses, your transfer credits might be prerequisites. So you can always reach out to an academic advisor to talk about your transfer credits, how you can use them, and the best plan for you. And then finally, new to DAL and orientation and all of those fun things that will happen at the beginning of the semester is absolutely available and open to any transfer students too. So please do join, engage, do all of the things when you start here at DAL. And now on to kind of course selection and a bit of an overview around workload and your degree in general. And so first off, there are 2 kind of terms to talk about when we think of workload or course load at DAL. And so we have full-time. So a typical course at DAL is 3 credit hours. And so full-time, that is a minimum of 9 credit hours a semester, and that's approximately 3 courses. And there are some things that you might need to be a full-time student for. So for example, if you are a varsity student, if you're living in residence, if you have a student loan or scholarship or funding, if you're here on a student visa, all of those things might require you to be full-time. So if you're considering being a part-time student, I'd encourage you to check out if any of those conditions apply to you. I'd encourage you just to check out and make sure that being a part-time student is okay. And now a full course load, that's 15 credit hours. And so that's typically the 5 courses a semester. And so this is kind of I would say, traditional way of doing your degree. So if you're looking to complete your degree in 4 years, it's typically 5 classes in the fall, 5 classes in the winter. But we know that that's not going to work for every student, and you're more than just a student. And so you have lots of other commitments and priorities and needs going on. And so it's totally okay if that 5 and 5 doesn't work for you. And you can always chat with an advisor too, if you want to discuss course load. But some things to think about when you're thinking about course load and how many courses you want to take is, do you want to or do you have to graduate in 4 years? How difficult do the courses you're picking seem to you? How do you feel about preparing for 5 different exams, for your midterms or your finals? And then what are your other community commitments? Do you have a job? Do you volunteer? Do you have a family? So just kind of thinking about that when you're thinking about your course load. And that then leads us into a bit of an overview of your degree. And so here at Dal, we have the 90 credit hour degree and the 120 credit hour degree. And we're going to talk today about the 120 credit hour degree. And so I have on the screen just a pie chart of a degree with a single major. And so your 120 credit hour degree, you do 120 credit hours, you complete them to graduate, and so that's approximately 40 classes if each one is 3 credit hours. And so your general degree requirements, which we'll talk about a little more as we go on, are in blue in that pie chart, and that's typically what you would complete in your first year, and that would be around 30 credit hours of your degree. Then you have your major, so that's your kind of main area of interest, and that's about a third of your degree, so you do between 30 to 54 credit hours in your major of interest, and then the rest of the courses, the rest of that pie chart would be electives. And that's kind of a third to a half of your degree between 60 and 36 credit hours. And so this is based on just a single major, but there are lots of different ways to tailor your degree based on what you're interested in. So for example, a major, as I said, is typically 12 to 14 classes, so like 36 to 42 credit hours. There are also minors, so it's a kind of a smaller area of interest that you have alongside your major, and that's typically 6 to 8 classes to complete, so 18 to 24 credit hours. And then we have certificates. So they're a little more specific than a minor, and it's still that kind of little pocket of interest, and it's typically between 3 and 4 classes, so 9 and 12 credit hours. And actually, when you graduate, it's a separate piece of parchment for your certificate. You don't need to declare any of this until the end of your first year and even into your second year, but I just wanted to give you an idea that if you're not quite sure what you want to do, or you have a lot of different things that you love and you want to explore, your degree is set up in a way that you can explore those different things. So there is the option to do a major and a minor, or a double major, or a double major and a minor and a certificate. And so there are lots of different ways for you to be able to tailor your degree based on the things that you're interested in. And your first year can be a great opportunity for you to explore what you might be interested in and what you might want to major in. And so that's kind of the big picture of your degree. And now we're going to really get into course selection for next year. And so we're going to go back to that handy website, dal.ca/registration. We're going to go to step 2, and we're going to click course planning worksheet. And that will then bring us to this page where you can see the Faculty of Arts and Social Science, and you can see all of the course planning worksheets there. And so your course planning worksheet, it is a guide that lists the required and the suggested first year courses based on your program. It also has information on how to register and how to select courses and build a schedule. And then it has contact information, so should you have any questions, who to reach out to. And so this is kind of a screenshot of the Bachelor of Arts one, and I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so we can walk through this together. So just bear with me as I figure this out. Okay. Here we go. So we're on that website. We've clicked on step 2 and we get to see the course planning worksheets. And then we'd go down to Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, and we're going to click the BA of Bachelor of Arts. And so this is the worksheet. So this is what you can use to help pick your courses. And so at the top, we have some really great information about the different degrees that you can do and full-time versus part-time and courses. So I'd encourage you to read that later. And then we have a table of contents of all of the things that you need. And so first off, we have your required first year course. So as a Bachelor of Arts student, you do have to do ASSC 1300 or ASSC 1400. So that's Introduction to the Humanities or Introduction to the Social Sciences in your first full semester at Dal. So the first September you're here at Dal, you need to do either ASSC 1300 or 1400. That's kind of the first course that you know that you need. And then we get to the recommended courses. So like I said, we encourage students to complete their general degree requirements if possible in their first year of study. And so one of your general degree requirements is that you have to complete your writing requirement. And so you can do this by taking either English 1111, which is a 3 credit hour course, or by taking 2 of any of the options below. So you can kind of mix and match and take 2, or you could take English 1111 to complete your writing requirement. And we will, after this, talk about how to actually find when these courses are offered and learn more about them too. The next section that we get into is your subject groupings. So you are required before you graduate to complete 6 credit hours of language and humanities, 6 credit hours of social science, and 6 credit hours of life and physical science. And we have listed here what subjects are considered for each subject grouping. So for example, for your languages and humanities, you would have to take 6 credit hours, that's 2 courses typically, from any subject from this list. So you can mix and match, or you can do 2 from the same subject, but it would be 6 credit hours of each of those categories. What's really great here is that your writing requirement can double count to fulfill one of your subject groupings. So for example, if you decided you were going to take philosophy and you wanted to take philosophy 1810 and 1820, that would fulfill your writing requirement. It would also then fulfill your languages and humanities. So it's the only time things can double count, but that writing can help fulfill your languages and humanities. But you would have to, at some point before you graduate, complete your subject groupings requirements as well. Next, we have your language or math requirement. So before you graduate, you have to do 6 credit hours in a single subject. And so we have the list of subjects that would count towards those 6 credit hours here. And so you need to take 6 credit hours. That's typically 2 courses in a single subject. You can, if you're going to major in economics, philosophy, law, justice, and society, political science, psychology, sociology, or anthropology, you can substitute that language with a math or stats course. And I'd encourage you, if you're interested in learning a language, or you might want to minor or major in a language, I'd really encourage you to take the language course in your first year. And then we have next electives. So based on the different majors that we offer in the Faculty of Arts, and as Dr. Andrews said, there are so many different majors, you have lots of options. We've broken down kind of recommended courses based on what majors you might be interested in. And so we have listed the different programs and different things that you can study, and then underneath each title, what courses are recommended to take in your first year so that you're set up for your second year and onwards to continue studying in that area. So for example, if you wanted to explore gender and women's studies, they recommend that you complete your writing requirement and also that you complete at least one of those following courses. So you can really use the electives page to make sure you're set up. It gives you a good picture of your major options, and then you can use that to fit into your subject groupings. So for example, if you know you're going to take a gender and women's studies course, we also can go up and see that a gender and women's studies course is going to fulfill your language and humanities, or half of your language and humanities, or half of your social science. So they can't double count, it'd be one or the other, but you know to take gender and women's studies, if you're interested in majoring in that, it could then fulfill one of these subject groupings. And you can kind of take a look at all of the options. And then finally, we just have information on how to find courses and how to build your schedule. So a step-by-step guide, and then how to register for courses. And then on the final 2 pages, we have a blank fillable PDF. And so we'll get to how to use that a little later on. But that really is your course planning worksheet. And so you'll go through and pick out the courses and the subjects that you're interested in based on what's recommended on that worksheet. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go back to the presentation. And so hopefully that gives you a bit of a picture of the course planning worksheet, but also your general degree requirements, where you have the writing requirement, your language requirement, and then your subject grouping requirements with the languages and humanities, social science, and life and physical science subject grouping requirements. And then you have that required course. So in the first fall that you're here, you have to do ASSC 1300 or ASSC 1400 in that first semester that you're here. And ASSC, the Intro to Humanities or Intro to Social Science, is a great way for you to be able to meet your peers, to be able to meet other people in your program and your year. It's also a great way to learn more about the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, the supports you have in the faculty, your major and minor options, and different subjects to explore as well. So it's a great intro course to really help get you set up in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. And I hope you can see from looking at that course planning worksheet that you do have a lot of choices. Even if you're coming in with a major in mind, which is great, you still have a lot of electives and a lot of room to really pick courses and tailor your first year based on what you're most interested in. And so when you are looking at that and you're looking at the worksheet, some things to think about is what subjects interest you. So maybe this is a subject in high school that you've loved. Maybe you've developed some passions for something outside of the classroom that you've always wanted to learn a bit more about in the classroom. Maybe it's just something you've always been like, what is that about? I'd love to learn just a little more and test it out. And so think about what you're going to be most interested in. Also, maybe think about what you didn't like in high school, right? Is there something that you really didn't like and aren't as interested in too? And then what kind of learner are you? So do you want classes that might have a lab or a tutorial or might be more discussion or hands-on? Are you looking for more of a lecture? So what type of course are you looking for? And then how do you want to structure your day? And so what are your other commitments? Do you maybe need childcare or have a part-time job or volunteer? When are you available to take courses and what's going to fit with your schedule as well? And so that gives you a good overview of the course planning worksheet, and you can work through that step by step to really pull out the courses and the subjects that you're going to be interested in. And then we're going to move into how to create your schedule and actually learn more about the course, because Gender and Women's Studies 1010 doesn't necessarily mean that much to you right now. And so we'll actually look at how to find out more information about a course and then build a schedule. So you can use a blank schedule. So we saw that fillable PDF at the bottom of that course planning worksheet. So you can use that, you can print it, whatever works for you. And it's a great way to map out where your courses are going to be each semester. And so you can really make sure that everything's looking good, it's smooth. And at the bottom there, we have a table to keep track of the information you're going to need for registration. And so you'll want to, when you are thinking about courses and creating your schedule, you'll want to register and create a schedule for both fall and winter. It's really important on June 7th that you register for fall and winter semester at the same time. And so we're going to look at the timetable in a second, but first off, let's talk about what a lecture, lab, and tutorial is. So first off, a lecture. So that's typically professor-led. It's often minimal interaction, and it's usually the largest section of your course. So I like to say, if you think about kind of a classic TV show or a movie that's set in a university that someone comes in and there's someone right at the front on a blackboard. For me, I always think of Legally Blonde and some of those scenes. That's typically what a lecture will look like. So a big room, someone's talking at the front, and lots of people are listening, but there's not as much kind of back and forth. We then have a lab. So a lab, that's a smaller group of students from your lecture. It's more kind of hands-on learning, and it complements the lecture material. So it often goes inside with what you're learning in your lecture. And it's typically run by a teaching assistant. And then we have tutorials, which you'll see on the timetable is noted as a toot. And again, it's a smaller group of students from your lecture, so a great way to meet other people in your class. And it's often discussion-based or problem-solving based on what you're learning in the lecture. And again, typically run by a teaching assistant. And so what you'll see when you're looking up the courses on the timetable is that some courses will have a lecture only. Some courses will have a lecture and a lab. Some will have all three. Some might have a lecture and a tutorial. So there's no kind of set way for a course to be structured based on the components. They could have any mix of these three things. It's just important that if a course does have a lecture and a lab, for example, that you register for a lecture and lab for that course. And so I've talked a lot now about the timetable and all these things, but we're actually now going to take a look at the timetable. So you can go to dell.ca/timetable to find this. And the timetable holds all of the logistical information about the course. So for example, the day, the time, the location, the type of class, all of that information is there. You also can see, for example, a description of the course too. So if you want to learn more about a course, you can look at the description on the timetable as well. So when you go to that link, it'll bring you to a page that looks like this. And you can select fall or winter. For me, I always look at fall and winter at the same time, but you can look at them separately. So I have them circled. And then under locations, I would encourage you to select Halifax, online, and other, because that's going to give you all of your possible options there. And then in the subject, you're going to type in the subject that you're looking for. So in this example, we're going to type in ASSC, and it's going to bring us to a page that looks like this. And so this is what the timetable really looks like when you're starting to search for courses. And we're going to work through together what all of this information means. So hopefully at the end, it does feel really clear to you, because I know right now it can feel quite overwhelming. So the first thing that we have in that top left is the course code and the course title. So we have ASSC 1300 Intro to the Humanities. That's the course code and the title. Next to that, we have the play button, is what I like to call it. It's that circle with a triangle in it. If you click that, it would bring you to a description of the course and some more information. Next to that, on the right side, we have the semester it's being offered. So this particular course is offered in the fall semester. And then back over to the left, we have the number of credit hours. So like I said, that typical course is 3 credit hours, and you can double check this column to make sure it's 3 credit hours. Sometimes you will see that courses are 6 credit hours. And so this course we can see here is 3 credit hours. And then next to that, we have the section. So under section, you can see that first, that sandy color option here that says LEC and 01. So that section there, that is your lecture, this one here, and that is lecture section 01. And then underneath that, we have a blue color, and we can see in that section column, it says TUT, which we know now stands for tutorial. And then this particular one circled is tutorial 01. And so here on the section, you can see what type of course there is. ASSC doesn't have a lab to it, it just has a lecture and a tutorial, but I've just taken a screenshot down here of a course that has a lab, just so that you know what to expect. And so it's kind of in that mint green color at the bottom, and it says lab, and it's B004 in this case. And so when you're registering, you want to make sure you register for one of each color or one of each component that's offered under the course name. Next, we have the days. So we can then see what day the course is offered. Mondays are notated by an M, Tuesdays are a T, W is Wednesday. Now a little tricky, Thursday is an R. So if you see an R, it stands for Thursday. And then the F is Friday. And so we can see here that this lecture is offered on Wednesday. Next to that, we have the time, so it's offered in military time. And we can see here that this lecture section on Wednesday is 2:30 to 4:30 on Wednesdays. Next to that is the location. So first we have the campus. So this course is on Studley campus. It's then in the McCain Arts and Social Science building, and it's in Auditorium 1. So you have the campus, the building, and then the room number there. And then as we keep going to the right, we have the enrollment info. So that first column is the maximum number of students that can be allowed in the class. Next to that are the current number of students enrolled in this class. We then have the number of seats available, and then the wait list. So how many students are on the wait list, and the percentage the class is full. So really helpful when you're picking courses, just to make sure it's not full. And then, okay, back over to the left, we're kind of all over the place here, but it did make sense. We look at the course reference number column, so the CRN. And so this column is really important when we come to registering. So each section, so each different tutorial, each different lecture has its own unique course reference number, its own unique CRN. And so what you'll do is when you're creating that schedule on the blank PDF, once you pick a time that you like, you will then record the CRN number. And so that blank schedule had that box in the bottom for space for that. And so you have to register in a lecture. And so this would be the CRN. You only have one choice there. And then say, for example, you're going to pick a tutorial. You've picked Tuesdays from 10:30 to 11:30. And you're going to take that CRN 10132. And those are the two numbers that you will use and plug in on registration day and be able to register for that. And we will get into how to register. But right now with the timetable, you want to find courses, check the description. And then once you've found the sections that work for your schedule, take the CRNs so you're ready to go on registration day. And then back over to the right, we have the instructor information. So if you have any questions about the course, if you want to look up your instructor, you can find that over here to the right. And then finally, back to the left, we have the notes column. And so the notes column, it's really important that as you're going through this, you take a look at this. So there's often some really useful information in the notes. And so here we have a note that says students can enroll in either ASSC 1300 or 1400, but not both. So you have to pick Intro to the Humanities or Intro to the Social Sciences. So when you're looking at the timetable, always take a look at that note as well. We also can see that there is an R in the notes column as well. So that R stands for restricted. And so if you see the R, you can click on it. And in this case, it's brought us to kind of a pop-out box that says this course is restricted to students in the Bachelor of Arts who have earned between 0 and 29 credit hours. So if you're an incoming student, fresh from high school, you will have 0 credit hours, and so you're able to take this course. So the only students able to take it are students who've earned less than 30 credit hours in the Bachelor of Arts program. So it's really important that you check that notes column as well, just to make sure everything's looking good. And so that is the timetable and kind of how to use that information. I also want to highlight reserved seats for you. So as you're looking up different courses in that enrollment information section, you might see something that looks a little like this and it looks a little funny. And so sometimes different courses will hold seats for different groups of students. And so you might see, for example, that a course is has seats, but you're not able to register. And that's because the section that you can register in based on the seats might be full. And so we have open, open, and open. A little deceiving, and that's why, again, that note section comes in really handy, because when we look at the note, it says a number of seats in this course are reserved for BA and BSc students. The first set of seats are open to anyone. The second set of seats are for BSc students, and the last set of seats are for BA students. For more information, contact english@dal.ca. So what's that saying is that the maximum number of students allowed in English 1005 for this case is broken into seats for everyone, into seats for Bachelor of Science students, and into seats for Bachelor of Arts students. So if there are seats available in that first open section or that last open section, you're able to register. But if there were only seats available in that middle section for Bachelor of Science students, you wouldn't be able to register because your seating options would be full. So just, you want to, that's why the note's really important, and you really want to look at the timetable to make sure there's space and everything looks good. Now, the other thing I want to highlight is some things that you'll see in the description. So if you imagine we've clicked the description for a course and it brings us to this. So this is a description for statistics. I know not something maybe everyone will take, but it has all of the things that I want to highlight here all in one description. So a lot of the descriptions look fairly similar. You have the name of the course code and title, the number of credit hours, an overview of what to expect, what you're going to learn in the course, maybe some notes and format. But at the bottom, I want to highlight these 3 terms. So the first one being prerequisite. So a prerequisite is a course or a requirement you have to meet before being able to take this course. So in this case, to be able to take Stats 1060, you need to have done academic or advanced grade 12 mathematics or pre-calculus or equivalent before being able to take Stats 1060. Underneath that, we have cross-listing. So a cross-listing is a course that is shared with another department. So it's exactly the same course, same instructor, same time, same everything. They just have two different names. And so in this case, Stats 1060 is equivalent with Math 1060. So they're the same course, same everything. They just have two different names. And then under that, we have exclusions. And so an exclusion means that this course and another course are too similar for you to be able to get credit for both courses. So in this case, you can't take Stats 1060 and COM 2501 and get credit for both because they're exclusions, they're too similar to each other for you to get credit for both. You would have to do one or the other. And so when you are looking at courses and you're going through the timetable, it's good to look at the description to get a bit more of an idea of what the course is, but then also make sure there's not anything you're missing in that description in terms of prerequisites or cross listings or exclusions. The other thing that you might see is co-requisites. And a co-requisite is a course that has to be taken at the same time as the course that you're taking. So at the same time or before the course that you're taking. And so you might come across that as well. And then we do have some online courses here at Dell. And so there are different types of online courses that we offer. The first one is synchronous courses. And so those are a course that requires you to join class online at a specific day and time every week. And that time is scheduled in Atlantic Daylight Time. We then have asynchronous courses, and so they don't require to be online at a specific day or time. The material will be posted, and it will be your responsibility to learn that and review that as you go along in the course. And then we have a combination. And so that's where it's kind of going to be synchronous and asynchronous. And so there might be certain days or certain times of the semester that you would need to be online. And then there'll be certain times where it would be asynchronous. And so you wouldn't have to be online for it. So it'd be a combination of them both. And I just have some examples here of what that would look like. So under location, you can see this one, we have History 1510, History of the Future. And under location, it's online, and you can see that there is some online synchronous sessions. So on Monday and Wednesday from 5:30 to 8:30, and then 5:30 to 7:30. And then there's also some asynchronous components as well. Similarly with the tutorial, there are synchronous and asynchronous components of this course. And then underneath that, we just have an example of an asynchronous course. Again, location is online and either synchronous or asynchronous as you're going through it. And so that hopefully has given you a good idea of how to read and understand the timetable. And so you can use your course planning worksheet and your timetable to create a schedule and really map out when all of those courses are going to fit in your week. And so some things to think about when you are creating that schedule is what time of the day do you learn best? What time of the day do you study best? And do you want your classes kind of back to back or all in the morning or the afternoon? Or do you want time for breaks and space in between? If you're going to be on campus for a longer chunk of time, do you have time for lunch? Do you have time for dinner? And then do you want to take a course online? And if it is online, do you have a quiet time and a quiet space to focus on that course? And then what are your other commitments? Will you be working as well? Will you be doing other things? And when are they happening during your week? And so creating a schedule is a bit of a jigsaw. It might take a few goes to get something you really like, but it's really great to do this before registration day. So registration day is nice and smooth, and you just use those CRN numbers. And so you'll see from those screenshots there are already people in some courses already because current students could register for courses in March. And so sometimes courses can fill up on registration day or before registration day. And so when you're creating that schedule and you're looking for courses, it's a good idea to find alternative courses or alternative sections that would work with your schedule in case your top choice is full on June 7th. So for example, with those requirements, we talked about you having kind of lots of options. Is there a alternative subject that you might want to take to fulfill one of those requirements? Or some courses, like when we saw ASSC, there's lots of different tutorial options. And so is there maybe a different tutorial option that would also work with your schedule so that just in case it's full, you have another option that you can join and would fit well with your schedule? So just to kind of think about some of those backups and alternatives in mind, just in case things are full for June 7th. And that hopefully has given you a bit of a picture of how to use the course planning worksheet and how to use the timetable to then create a schedule for the week and collect those CRNs so that you're good to go on registration day. And now we will jump into what that looks like. So just a reminder, before registration day on Saturday, June 7th, you need to have activated your Net ID and created your password, checked your registration status on DAL Online, paid your admission deposit, created a schedule for fall and winter that works for you using the timetable and the course planning worksheet, and recorded all of those course reference numbers, those CRN numbers, so that you are good to go. And so on registration day on June 7th, you'll log in. Registration opens at 12 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. So log in a little before with your Net ID and password. You'd click Web for Students. You'd then click Registration and then again register for classes. I want you to double check. So you click Register for classes again and you'd put in the semester that you're starting. So 2023, 2025, 2026 fall, and you'd press Continue. You then get a screen that looks like this. And you would go right to the top and you click Enter CRNs because you've collected all of those CRNs. It's the most accurate way to register. And you've put in the hard work of making that beautiful schedule. So you'd go click right to Enter CRNs and you'd get ready to start plugging them in. And so we're going to look right now at this in a little more detail. And then we'll look down here at that summary and then finally over here. So first, adding courses. And so you're going to go right to the Enter CRN, again, the most accurate way to register for courses. You would plug in your CRN into the box here. So that, remember, is that unique number attached to the particular section. You could click Add another CRN and enter them all at once. And then you would click Add to Summary. And so you'd add it to Summary and they'd show up in that bottom right screen here in the summary. And so your summary then would look something like this. And so all of the status for all of the courses would say pending. The action would be web registered, and then you can see what actual courses they are here. And so you're not yet registered, you'd have to go down and press submit. And so if everything looks good to you and you're happy with it, you would press submit, and then hopefully all of your statuses here would turn to green. They would say registered and you would be done. And that would be it. And you'd be good to go. Now, what might happen is you might register and you might get an error. So you might get an error message saying that something is preventing you from registering, and it'll look like this. And we're going to talk a little about what those potential messages could mean so that you're prepared on registration day. And so I have a few of the kind of common ones listed here, and we'll just walk through them. So that first one, link error XX required. And so that's saying you're registering for a course. So you register for ASSC 1300. We know that course has a lecture and a tutorial. And this is saying you've tried to register for just the lecture and you're missing the tutorial. So you just need to go back and add all of the components of the course. The next is that the section is full. So whatever section you're trying to join, there aren't any more seats available. So you can go back and check the timetable and see if there is a different section available to you. The next one is that the section is full and there is X number of people on the wait list. This is again, the section you're trying to register in is full. There is a wait list. There are so many people on it and you could join it if you wanted to. The next is that the available seats held for waitlisted and there are X number of people on the wait list. So that's saying that although you see on the timetable, there are spaces, all of those seats are for students on the wait list, but you can join the wait list. Next is that there is a missing required course or grade. So when we talked about those prerequisites on the description, it means that you'd need to go back, look at the description and make sure you had the prerequisites. And then finally, we have the reserved closed error. So that's where, for example, if you're going to register in one of those English courses where they have those open seats held, you're registering for a course that the section available like for your seats and your program, there aren't any seats left. And so that reserved section is closed and it's full. And so those are some of the things that you can do to kind of problem solve them if they come up. You can check the timetable. Are there other sections? Is there an alternative course that you might want to take? And some of that planning you can do ahead of time to be prepared as well. Now, if you did run into a course that was full, you could join the waitlist if there is one. And so to do that in the summary, under action, you would just click that and go down to waitlisted and then press submit. And the status would then change to waitlisted here. It's then your responsibility to keep checking the prepare for registration page to see if you've got permission to join the course. And then you would go back under action and click web registered and join the course. I would encourage you, if you're going to join the waitlist in a course, register for an alternative. Just as a backup, you can always swap them if you wanted to before the semester started. And so we've talked a little bit, what do you do if a course or section is full? So just to kind of review this, courses can fill up because current students can register. And so again, when you're making that schedule and going through the timetable and the worksheet, having a backup course or a backup section in mind is really important. Over the summer, keep checking the academic timetable because people do move in and out of courses. So even if a course is full now, there might be space available later in the summer. And you typically have the kind of first 2 weeks of the start of the semester to add and change your courses without penalty. So there is a bit of wiggle room once you start. And then waitlists exist. So for some courses, you can add yourself to a waitlist if there is one and get a spot in the course if one becomes available. And then finally, you will complete your degree over multiple years. So that ASSC course, that is the only required course in your first year. And so if the course isn't as full or not going to work, take another course, and maybe this is a course you could take later. You also can connect with us. So if the course that you really want to take is full and you don't know what else to take or what to do, you can reach out to us and we can help talk through what your options might be there as well. And so hopefully you registered, you saw those green ticks, everything's good, you problem solved if there is any errors. And then final check is you would just check your schedule and make sure you don't have any conflicts. So it's a little confusing and it does trip people up, but the system does allow you to register in courses that are offered at the same time. So you can register in 2 courses that are offered exactly at the same time, but that's not going to be great because you can't go and be in 2 places at once. So you want to check your schedule and make sure that all of your courses don't conflict with each other. And we can see here, this is just an example of a conflict. We can see that these 2 courses are at the same time. And so you would then just look at the timetable and see if there are any adjustments or different sections or things that you could move around. If that looks good and you feel happy with that, you are done for the fall semester. And then you'd start all over again and do this for the winter semester. So it's really important on June 7th that you register for the fall and the winter semester. And then if you are looking for more support, we do have a lot of help videos on the Dal Online Help Center. So they're short videos on really a lot of the things that we've talked about, like checking your registration status, registering for a course, joining a wait list, adding a course, changing it. All of those videos are available there. And that's something that you can check out now as well if you wanted to. So you can always go look at them ahead of time too. But that really concludes kind of the registration and course selection process. And we're going to talk now a little more into different supports available for you when you're here at Dal. And so we're going to get into detail of a few different supports, but hopefully the big takeaway from this is that there are lots of different people and lots of different resources here to help you form the best experience at Dal. And so if you're not sure of who to go to or you think you might need help, I'd really encourage you to reach out and ask someone. For help. You saw and heard the excitement from Dr. Andrews and from the video from the visit. Everyone is so excited and so keen to help. And you'll see in September that a bunch of staff and faculty are walking around with these Ask Me pins on their chest. And so a great way if you want to stop someone, if you have a question, if you're a little lost, to reach out. But again, there are lots of resources. And so if you don't know where to go, reach out and ask, and it will be able to point you in the right direction. First off, we have financial services. So they can help with scholarship and bursary funding, student loans, creating a budget, accessing temporary loans, and then connecting with on and off campus services and supports to help with financial need. We then have the registrar's office. So I would say anything that you kind of see on Dal Online, the registrar's office is likely going to be able to help with that. They're the ones who've been in contact with you probably the most at this point with admissions. They also help with registration, transcripts, transfer credits. The awards and financial aid team is in the registrar's office, and then also confirmation of enrollment. We then have academic advising, and so they're here to help make a successful transition to university life, to understand your program requirements and your academic regulations, to help choose your courses, your program, your major, your minor, map out strategies to achieve your educational and career goals, and then work with you to develop action plans to deal with any academic or other difficulties. And so there are folks at the BISIT who can help you with this. There are folks in the faculty and then the performing arts team as well. Next, we have the Student Accessibility Center. So I'd really encourage you, if you had an IEP, you had a learning plan, if this is something you think you might need, to reach out and book an appointment with them now and get that ball rolling. And so it's really important to do this in the summer so that when you start in September, everything is set up and you are good to go. And so the Student Accessibility Center helps identify and reduce barriers that you might face to the classroom, to exams, and to campus in general. And so they offer one-on-one appointments, and they also can advocate on behalf of and alongside of you to support your transition, both into Dal and then throughout your program. They can help you with accessing disability-related funding and connect students with on and off-campus resources. Again, if you think this is something you might need, I'd really encourage you to get connected with them over the summer. Next, we have student health and wellness. So this is kind of like your family doctor while you're here with us at Dal. And so they have medical appointments with doctors and nurses. You can access Dalhousie's same-day counseling services, speak with a social worker about problems of living. They also offer things like flu shots and prescriptions and medical testing. We then have career services. So this is offered through the BISIT Student Success Center, and they help with job search and academic application preparedness, kind of determining what you might want to do with your degree, what you might want to do next. They offer various workshops on things like how to build a resume and networking. They also can review your resume and your cover letters, and then they have career counseling there too. And then you have your professors, so your instructors of your course. Their contact information can be found in the syllabus. And so a syllabus is kind of like a contract between you and your instructor for the course that you are taking. And so in your syllabus, it has the expectations for you, the kind of expectations of the course, the grading system, key dates, and as well as the instructor's information in there. And so professors can help if you're looking for clarification or you want help with one of your assignments, if you want to learn more about their research or something maybe they've shared in class, or just opportunities to get more involved in the department, as well if you're just wanting to chat and get to know them a little more in their kind of career experience. I'd encourage you to connect with them. Next, we have studying for success. So Studying for Success offers one-on-one appointments with study skills coaches. So whether you're coming from high school, whether you've had a gap, you're coming from another institution, it's a great way just to brush up on those skills and just have a bit of a check-in about where you're doing. So they can work with you to develop your study skills, help understand your learning style. They do offer various workshops on like how to manage your time, goal planning, staying motivated, and then tutors for specific course support. We then have the Writing Center, and so they can help you help students at all levels in all fields of study with anything that you write while you're a DAL student. And so they offer one-on-one appointments to discuss written work, and that includes assignments, dissertations, even presentations. And they can provide feedback to you at any stage. So whether that's I don't quite know how to answer this essay question and structure my response, all the way to I've written this, can we review it together? And so they're a really great resource to use throughout your time here at Dell. We then have the Black Student Advising Center. And so they're a cultural hub of support, programs, events, and resources for students of African descent, either attending Dalhousie or King's. They offer free tutoring in bio, math, chem, and writing support. They can help advocate and navigate campus with you and find resources and supports based on your needs. And they can also support with finding funding resources on and off campus. We then have the Indigenous Student Center, which provides a supportive environment for Indigenous students to gather, to meet other students, and to have access to supports and services. So they offer tutoring support in bio, chem, math, and stats, and writing. And they also have various groups come in and host office hours there. So we do have the accessibility. We'll be there. Health and wellness, career advising, academic advising, and library support will all spend time at the Indigenous Student Center too. And they host a variety of cultural activities and events, educational and informational sessions, networking opportunities, referrals to on and off campus resources, and then scholarship and bursary information. Next, we have the 2S LGBTQ plus advisor, Olivia. And so Olivia can support students in accessing and referrals to gender affirming care. If you're seeking name or gender marker changes, either at DAL or provincially, with resource navigation, both on and off campus, advocacy matters related to identity or gender expression, talking about your experiences, including any barriers you might face, and then advancing access and equity of 2S LGBTQ plus students at Dalhousie and King's. Then we have the International Center. So as Dr. Andrews said at the start, there are lots of different study abroad and exchange opportunities, and so they're run typically out of the International Center. They also can help with immigration, student visas, filing Canadian taxes, accessing different English as an additional language supports, and connecting with the international community on and off campus. And so finally, we have the DAL U app. And so that connects people with information systems, people announcements that you'll need, and a great way now to get to meet different people that are joining your class and joining in September. A good way to kind of get connected over the summer too. And you can get this app at the App Store or Google Play. And so hopefully when I've gone through these resources, there are so many, and this isn't even all of them. And so the biggest thing is, if you do need support, if you are looking for help, please reach out and ask someone. They will hopefully likely be able to either help you or know the right person to be able to help you. So if you do need something, do reach out, get connected, and find that right support. And so back to a final recap of registration. So registration opens Saturday, June 7th at 12 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. The deposit payment, that $200 admission deposit, is required before registering, and it can take up to 48 hours to process. So if possible, I'd encourage you to do that sooner rather than later. You also will need to activate your Net ID and create a password before registering. As you've seen throughout, you need your Net ID to be able to access DAL Online. So you need to have that activated beforehand. And then if on the day you run into any issues, The Bissett Student Success Centre is going to be open 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time by phone and email, so you can connect with us. And then, particularly if you're running in any registration errors, you can connect with the registrar's office, who will be open 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time on the Saturday as well, by phone and live chat and email. So these are kind of your resources and things to know. You're also welcome to meet with us at the Bissett beforehand if you want help with course selection as well. And then next steps, once you've done all of that, I'd encourage you to check out the dal.ca/new student page. There is a new student checklist. There are helpful tips and information. The orientation information will be sent there, and then some information for friends and family as well. But a great page. And so that's the end of the information that I have tonight. I have here just a QR code, and I will drop a link in the chat to complete a survey. We'd love to hear from you on how we did, and how you're feeling. So I'll drop that in the chat, but it'll also be emailed to you as well. So don't feel like you have to do it now or at all. And we'll jump into the Q&A because I've seen some questions rolling in. So just a reminder, the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you can click the Q&A button and the question and answer box will pop up. You can type in your question and send it. If you don't want your name associated, you can click send anonymously and you'll be anonymous. And your question will then go to myself and the other panelists here to help answer some of those. And so I'll open that up now and feel free to pop any questions in. The first question is, are we meant to sign up for fall and winter courses at the same time? Is it recommended? So yes, you are meant to sign up for fall and winter at the same time. It is definitely recommended, because as you can see, once registration opens, the longer that you wait for registering, the more likely a course is to be full. And so the way to get around that is on June 7th, you register for fall and winter. It also hopefully will give you a bit of relief knowing that you're registered in the courses and you're good to go for the year. The next question is, I'm between majoring in social science or humanities. Does it matter which ASSC course I take? No, it doesn't. You can really pick, even if you major in social sciences, you can take the Intro to Humanities course. What I would suggest if you're not sure which one to take is take a look at the description of both of those courses and see which one's going to be more interesting to you. Someone's asked, what if ASSC is full for the fall term when we register? Yeah, so if the ASSC course you want is full, there's a few options. One, register for ASSC, the other ASSC course. So in this case, if ASSC 1400 is full, go ahead and register for ASSC 1300. You also can join the waitlist for ASSC 1400, and hopefully a space will become available. But it is a required course, so you do need to take one of them in your first fall semester. Someone's asked, do we have to sign up for all 3 types of course for a specific course? For example, ASSC 1300, do we need to take a lecture, lab, and tutorial, or only one? Yes, so I'm going to share my screen, and we'll look at the timetable together so that you can see. So I'm just pulling up the timetable and I'll share my screen. There we go. So we're on the timetable, we're clicking fall, winter, and the locations. We'll type in the ASSC. And so when you're thinking of what components of a course that you want to take, what you want to do is, because not every course will have every component, you want to register for all of the colors underneath the course title. So in this case, the ASSC 1300, we have this sandy color, so a lec, and we have a tutorial, a tut, in this blue color. There is no lab for ASSC 1300. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you register for one of each color under the course code. In this case, you want to register for a lecture and a tutorial. You're not going to be able to register. So if you decided, oh, I'm just going to take the lecture, the system's not going to let you register. So you do need to register for one of each of the colors underneath the course code. But if there's only 2 colors or 1 color, that you just register for that one component. Someone's asked, is ASSC 1300, 1400 the only mandatory class? Yes, it is the only mandatory class for first year students. The course planning worksheet goes through your other requirements and things you might want to take and are recommended to take, but the ASSC course is the only one that is mandatory for a first year first student. Someone's asked, are all of the courses that come up on the timetable the ones that are available for the fall, or will the course options get updated? There might be a few tweaks, but it's likely that all of the options are already on the timetable, so the timetable is up to date and accurate, and there's likely not going to be too many changes. Someone's asked if a class is cross-listed and you need credit from one of the departments, is it important that you make sure you register under that listing, or does it matter since it's in both departments? It doesn't matter. You can register for the one under that listing, and then but you can also register for the other one if that one is full too. Someone's asked, can we choose another course to register for if we are on a wait list for another course? Yes, absolutely. So you can register in a maximum of 15 credit hours a semester, but you can be on as many wait lists as you want. So if you are on a wait list, I'd encourage you to register for an alternative course just while you're waiting. Someone's asked, to graduate within 4 years, how many courses would we need to take per semester? That depends a little on how you want to structure your degree. So typically it would be 5 courses a semester for those 4 years, but you could do it potentially with like 4 and 4 and then some summer course options. It kind of depends what feels like the best fit for you, your degree, and your kind of availability and the availability of courses in the summer too. Someone's asked, is it possible to change my major? Yes, so you don't declare your major until somewhere between your first and second year. So you don't even have to declare it until the end of your second year. So it's absolutely possible for you to change that even once you've declared it. And that first year or two gives you a really good chance to explore what you might be interested in as well. Someone's asked, do most students on a waitlist for a course get a spot over the summer, or can we expect not to get a spot when we are on the waitlist? That's a really tricky question because it really depends on the course and honestly how many people are on the wait list. So if you register, if you join a wait list and there's already like 50 people on it versus if you join a wait list and there's 1 person on it, right, you're more likely to get into that course with the one. But again, people do move in and out of courses over the summer, so it's really hard to predict. That's why I would encourage you, if it's full and you join the wait list, to register an alternative just in case you don't get a support over the summer. Someone's asked, how do I waitlist myself in courses? So we did go over that a little in the presentation, and you can review that in the recording as well, but I'll also send you the link on how to add yourself to a waitlist too. So all of that information can be found on the registration page. So I just sent that link in the chat on how to add yourself to a waitlist. Someone's asked, do I type all 5 CRNs at once and then push submit after that, or 1 CRN and then submit after 1 course at a time? That really comes down to personal preference. You can type all of them in and submit and do it that way, or you can do 1 at a time, whatever you prefer. Someone's asked, if I want to take summer courses, would I have to register at the same time? No, so for summer courses, the timetable for summer will open in December, and registration for summer will open in February. So right now we don't know what's offered for next summer, and we were not going to find out until December. So that would be something you would do in February and register. Someone asked, what happens if I change my mind for the next semester? Yeah, that's totally okay. So if you change your mind for your next semester and want to change your courses, you do have typically up until the first 2 weeks of class to add and change courses without any financial penalty. So you do have some time to change and move things around for sure. Someone's asked, can I try out a few subjects before deciding my major? Yes, absolutely. That's one of the great things about the Bachelor of Arts is you do have a lot of flexibility, particularly in your first year, to be able to explore a lot of different things because the only mandatory course is that ASSC course. So you absolutely can explore a few different things, read some descriptions, see what feels good. You also can take different things both semesters, so you really can explore everything. The next question is, if there is a 6 credit hour course, what does that mean? Are there multiple lectures? Are they longer? Yes, so a 6 credit hour course is kind of like a double course in a way. So it's like 2 courses in one course or in one semester. And so it is, you'd likely have more lecture time. If there's a tutorial, it might likely mean that you have more tutorial time too, because it's like 3 credit hour courses that have combined into a 6 credit hour course. So it's kind of like double a 3 credit hour course. But it's all in the same semester. So it's not longer in length, but just the amount of time you're spending in class might increase each week. Someone's asked, are there any specific courses that I will have to take for my degree? Yes. So once you have those general degree requirements that you have to take for your degree, and then based on your major, you'll also have other requirements that are specific to your major that you have to take. And so that course planning worksheet sets you up to be able to continue based on your major. And then I've popped the link for the calendar, so dal.ca/calendar, where you can explore those other requirements that you would need in your later years as well. Someone's asked, do we have to wait until June 7th to submit courses, or do courses close at a later date? You can't submit courses until June 7th. That's kind of the earliest that you can do that would be June 7th at 12. You can create your schedule and collect those CRNs now so that you're ready for June 7th. And then you do have over the summer and the first 2 weeks into each semester to be able to add and make some changes to. Someone's asked, I'm currently enrolled in the arts and social sciences, but my intention is to apply to the Bachelor of Social Work program after I have enough credits. Would I still need to declare a major in my second year, and is there an advantage to doing so? Yes. So I'd encourage you, if you're thinking of applying to another program or something after you complete your Bachelor of Arts, really take a look and understand the admission requirements of the program that you want to get into, in this case, the Bachelor of Social Work. And I'd encourage you, when you're planning your courses and your degree, to kind of have 2 parallel plans. So one being the Bachelor of Social Work, but then also planning for a major as well. Just to keep both of those doors open. You might find out that you really, really like your major, you want to continue. It might take a few times trying to get into a program. And so I'd encourage you to do both, because that's going to kind of leave the most doors open for you. Someone's asked, how do the credits work? And so we have 2 degrees at Dal, the 90-credit-hour degree, where you have to complete 90 credit hours, which is around 30 courses, and you graduate with a minor. And then we have the 120-credit-hour degree, which is where you'd complete 120 credit hours, and it would be typically 40 courses. And a typical course at Dal is worth 3 credit hours. So each semester you would take a certain number of credit hours. As you complete and pass those courses, they would then count towards the 120 credit hours needed to graduate. I hope that answers your question. Someone's asked, when you are waitlisted for a course, how are you notified when a spot opens up for you, or do you need to check yourself? You do need to check yourself on that prepare for registration page. You'll get a notification saying that you've got a spot, and you'll have 3 days to then add yourself to the class. And so I'll share the link on how to join a waitlist, which will have more information, but you do want to kind of be checking it throughout the time and when you're on the waitlist. The next question is, what are psychology and philosophy classes like? I'm curious, but I'm not sure if they're right for me. Yeah, that's a fair question. Um, what I would suggest is one, taking a look at the description. It might give you a bit of an idea of what the content will be. You also can Google and even see if you can find a syllabus for it or some more information. And even just reach out to the instructor if you can't find a syllabus, just to get more information about the course. But if you're curious about it, you might want to take it for a semester and see how it feels, especially if you haven't studied it in high school. It's something kind of new and different. Someone's asked, I'm registered for the BA Law Studies program. How do I find out what courses I should register for during the first year? Yeah, so it sounds like you're interested in law, justice, and society. And so what you can do is on that page on the course planning worksheet, I'll just share that again now. Under the elective section on page 3, you can see we've broken down recommended courses by majors. And so if you went to Law, Justice, and Society, they recommend you take 3 to 6 credit hours of intro courses in political science, sociology, social anthropology, philosophy, history, and to complete the writing requirement. So they have some suggestions here of courses that would fulfill those. And so you can use that to then build your schedule and pick your courses for your first year. Sorry, my screen just froze for a second. The next question is, oh, the next question is, does the 3 days to add a waitlisted course include the weekend days? Just wondering in case we have trouble and need to call someone for help. I believe the 3 days does include the weekend days, so you would have one that's not a weekend. But if you do run into this issue, I would encourage you to just email the professor and let them know that you're struggling, and the situation. The next question is, since I did commerce in high school, are there any certain first year courses you'd recommend to ease into the arts program? I think that really depends on what your interests are and where your strengths lie. So think about what types of things you liked in commerce, where were you strongest, and then kind of translate that into the arts program. And then also I think that ASSC course will give you a great introduction to arts and science and the program as well, and those different supports such as the Writing Center and Studying for Success to help with those study skills and the writing support too. Someone's asked, how do I become an honors student? So yeah, you typically, honors is kind of a research project you do in your final year. You work with a supervisor and do kind of a research project, and you start thinking of that and applying in your second last year. So it's something that will happen, but not quite yet. Someone's asked, so just to confirm, can we apply for our courses on June 8th as well, or is it just on June 7th? Yes, absolutely. So your registration date opens June 7th. You have all of summer and then up until about 2 weeks into the semester to be able to add and change your courses. I'd encourage you to register on June 7th if possible, but you do have the whole summer to register and make changes too. Someone's asked, if you don't fulfill the elective suggestions, can you still potentially major in a certain subject? For example, a French major, if I didn't end up having the space to take the courses recommended, could I still possibly major in French? Yes, absolutely. So those elective suggestions are really kind of the courses that will help set you up for that major. So I will say, if you're interested in majoring in French, I'd encourage you to prioritize the electives recommended for that French major, for that particular major, so that you're set up. But if for whatever reason you didn't, you could definitely take them in a later year. But depending on the other requirements for your major, it might alter that timeline a little too. So I'd say if this does happen, you can always connect with an advisor about what that's going to look like as well. So I think that was all our questions. I just wanted to share the dates. I saw a question pop in around orientation, and so I do have a few dates that I can share with you for that as well. So international student orientation will be on August 26th and 27th. Residence move-in will be August 28th to August 30th. And then new to DAL orientation will be happening from August 28th to September 2nd. And then that week of classes, there will be other different events and some faculty orientation stuff as well. And there's also ABLE at DAL too for students who have accommodations. That's a bit of an overview of those dates there. Someone's asked, when choosing your writing requirement courses, can you mix courses from two different programs, like one for political science and one from journalism? Yes, you absolutely can mix and match. The only ones that you can't is the oceanography course, where you do have to take those two together. Now, I will say, yes, you can mix and match, but some courses will have prerequisites. So for example, for journalism, there is journalism 1002 and 1003, but journalism 1003 has a prerequisite of journalism 1002. So you can't take journalism 1003 without 1002. So just when you are selecting the writing courses and mixing and matching, just make sure that there aren't any prerequisites that you need to be mindful of too. Okay. I think that is all of the questions, which is wonderful. So thank you very much for sticking to the end. Hopefully we answered your question and the material today has helped and you'll feel a bit more ready to pick your courses and then register. But if you do run into any issues, we will be sending out the recording, a copy of the slides, and also you can always meet with someone even before registration day to help prepare too. And so all of that information will be coming to you in the next few days. And if not, either we'll see you at the BISSET at some point or we'll see you in September. And we're all so excited to see you and have you join us on campus. So thank you very much. And I hope you all have a good night.